Hey, welcome to the Strong Roots Podcast. My name is Kristen Hill, and we are so excited that you're tuning in today. Our prayer is that you would move one step closer to Jesus through this series. So go ahead and check out this next episode. Welcome back to the Strong Roots Podcast. I'm here with Aaliyah, and we are doing squad goals, and we are talking all about how to encourage one another. You ready for this?
Ready.
Okay, we're going to jump into the first question. So have you ever been in a situation when you experienced something really difficult and you closed your heart off from God?
I feel like there's many times when I've been in a difficult situation and closed my heart off to God. I think my first thought is I'm angry with God or something like that. But I think it's more for me when I don't understand what's going on, when I feel frustrated or that entitlement of like, well, I didn't get this job or this boyfriend or pregnant or whatever it may be. I feel like I could get into that mindset of not understanding and my heart is turning from God and focusing on something else, but not putting my hope in Jesus. And I feel like it could be something of, man, God doesn't owe me anything, you know, like whether I'm a beggar on the street or like if I'm working at church, whatever I'm doing, it does not matter. Everything that God gives me is a gift from Him. And like, I just want my hope to be found in Jesus,
right,
and not on those things. And I think in those moments when I'm focusing on something else, like that's when my heart is turned because my hope is in the wrong place.
Absolutely. When that happens, does it creep up on you or are you aware that it's happening?
I think it's usually a creep up, you know, because of the entitlement. It's just like, oh, but why don't I have this thing or why can't I? And it's because I'm not doing it for His glory, you know, and it takes me time to get my mindset of like, okay, like really where is your heart? You know, like are you doing this to glorify God or are you doing this for your own selfish desires?
Right. Knew what you meant. So when this happens, do you have somebody who comes alongside you? Because we're talking about friendship. Like, how does that look in your life, and how do you want it to look, actually, too?
I feel like Elise and yourself. I feel like you guys come alongside me in the best way. I feel like if I know my heart's in the wrong place or I'm struggling with something, or if it's something that you guys notice, like if I seem off or whatever it may be, I feel like those are the moments where it's important to confess to someone and tell them what's going on and be real. And then you guys always encourage me. You always point me back to Jesus, you know? And I feel like that's the biggest thing, you know? Like, you guys are like my cheerleaders, essentially.
Does it ever feel annoying?
No.
Good.
No. No, because I think deep down, we all know. And you just need someone to help. I mean, we have Jesus to carry that burden, but He gave us each other to lift each other up. And I feel like when you guys are coming alongside me and lifting me in that way, it's just so much better because it's just like, okay, like I'm pouring it out. I'm getting that freedom that I need.
Right.
You know, my heart's being healed and I can move on tangibly and have somebody help me like, okay, how have you been doing on this?
Right.
You know, like, are you still struggling? Like, what boundaries can we put in place for you to not be doing these things or focusing on Jesus, you know? And like, you both have different ideas that I would have never thought of, you know? And then it clicks with you and it's like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Right. What is the number one quality you look for in a friend?
I think being loyal.
Why?
It's a great question. I think it's part of my personality, but I think it ties back to Jesus, like just being loyal. And, you know, like that's a trait of Jesus. Many traits that I love, but one that I just love to see, like somebody being loyal and like knowing that someone's there for you no matter what, because we all sin. We're not perfect. I'm going to hurt you, not intentionally, but like I'm going to hurt you at some point. And like, if you're loyal to me, you're going to, you know what I mean? In Jesus Christ, you're going to forgive me and say like, okay, I make mistakes too. Like, it's okay. Like, how can we grow together and move past this and like continue to deepen our relationship in Jesus?
Oh, so true. I love that. So, what are ways that you personally feel encouraged?
I think just continuing to be positive and like pointing me back to Jesus.
Yeah.
And in that, pointing out like what the issue is and helping me find a solution to fix that, essentially. You know, like here's a tangible way that I can point you back to Jesus with that.
Right. How do you feel like you best encourage people?
I think with positive words and like trying to point out the best in people, you know, like speaking that truth into somebody's life, even if they don't believe it.
Oh, I agree. What is a way someone can not encourage you? What have people done in your life where like, that was not encouraging? Can you think of anything?
Not off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Maybe if it's like being negative, you know, or coming off mean, just like bam, like
Right.
smack you in the face with some sort of like you did that, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's just like taken back by surprise, like what? And then you feel like that shame of like, oh no, I hurt this person or I did this, and like then you put up like that defense wall, and it's like, oh no.
Right. Oh, that is so true. Love your answers. So, when is the best time to encourage someone in your mind?
I think all the time, you know? And the reason I say all the time is because, like, yes, you think if someone's going through a hard time, like, encourage them then, but we need to be encouraging each other all the time so that, like, we're going to face trials and temptations, but, like, I don't want somebody to get to that point. I want to encourage you to be so strong in your faith that, like, you're not going to waver, you know, when those trials and temptations come.
For somebody where this is new, say they've always let the game come to them, they don't even know how to encourage. What are tangible ways that you encourage people that maybe they could learn from?
Yeah. I would say checking in and like asking like, hey, how are things going? How's your relationship with Jesus? You know, is there something specific that you're struggling with? How can I be praying for you, or how can I come along you? And the boundaries thing, I think that's something important to ask people, like, what boundaries can you put in place because you're struggling with this, you know? Or specifically asking them, like, what do you find helpful? Because each person is different. Like, do you find it annoying if I text you every day? Would you want me to text you every day? You know, because everybody's different.
That's true.
And I think it's just figuring it out for that person and, like, yeah.
I know you're really good at sending cards, too, and gifts.
Yep.
So I feel like sometimes, too, you don't even have to have words.
Right.
It can just be a gift, or it could be serving unexpectedly. You do all those things really well, too. And I think there's so many ways to, encourage people.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's easy to just put it in this box or feel stupid about it. Have you ever felt stupid encouraging somebody?
Yeah. I think if I'm like, oh, I don't have a place to say, or they probably don't want to hear that, or, but usually it just winds up being like, wow, thank you so much for thinking of me. Like, if it is a gift or a card, like, I can't believe, like, you thought of me.
Right.
And reached out. So.
I love that. So how, in your mind, did Jesus encourage people around him?
With his love. You know? Love by, like, meeting them exactly where they're at and pulling them along and, like, encouraging them to turn away from their sins and, like, be more like him so that they could be free of their sins.
Last question. I think prayer is such a powerful way that we can walk alongside our friends. How does that look in your life? How do you pray for people, and how do you encourage them through your prayers?
So I actually have a journal prayer book that it's like month by month, and it's been super helpful. But it's just a tangible way to help me put down like prayer goals for the month, but then I could put people in there specifically that I want to be praying for, and I feel like, because I want to be intentionally praying for people that I'm like, hey, like, I want to pray for you, and like write those down, you know, because I'll be like, oh man, I totally forgot about that, but I'm so excited that each morning I could go to this journal and intentionally like stop and pray for them, and like if I feel on my heart that like, hey, I don't know, I feel like I should text this person, I'll just text them and say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm praying for you this morning.
Why do you think prayer matters when it comes to encouraging people?
think it's powerful. I mean, you know, God, it's our relationship with Jesus and pouring in that way. And I think it's also like putting our trust in him, knowing that like he's got control and like he hears us and.
Oh, amen.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Right.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We can't wait to continue this series on friendship, and we'll see you next time. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow us on our other social media platforms. We don't want you to miss out on any future content. Thank you so much again, guys. I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know I am personally praying that your roots stay strong.